Hello and welcome to today's video. In this video I want to compare the Panasonic G7 and GX80. I bought the G7 back in March 2016 and the GX80 in March 2017. So I used both cameras for over a year now, and I noticed some differences between the cameras that may be of interest for you if you plan to buy one or the other. So let's get started. At first, let's take a look at the things both cameras have in common. They both use a 16 megapixel sensor. The GX80 has a newer one without a low pass filter, which is supposed to produce a bit sharper images. But it can cause some problems with Moire patterns. Also, both cameras can record 1080p video up to 60 frames per second and 4K video up to 30 frames per second. In 4K video mode, both cameras crop in on the sensor, so you get a bit narrower field of view. The 60 frames in 1080p and 30 frames in 4K video mode are only available in the NTSC version of the camera. You can change your PAL version to an NTSC version with pressing some buttons. There are some videos out there on YouTube which explain how this works. The record limit in Europe at least is 30 minutes for 1080p and 6 minutes for 4K footage. If you record longer videos, the camera just stops for a second and then continues to record with a new file. Both cameras are very compact and lightweight, with the GX80 being a bit smaller but a bit heavier than the G7. So the first obvious big difference between the two cameras is that the G7 has only two names. It is named G7 and G70, and the GX80 has three names. Additionally to GX80 it's called GX85 and GX7 Mark II. So yeah, Panasonic's naming policy is quite strange, but well, it is like it is. So the first real difference between the two is the body. The G7 is more of a SLR style body with a bigger grip and more physical buttons and dials. And the GX80 is a rangefinder body with a small grip and with lesser physical buttons and lesser dials. You can overcome the small grip with the new grip that is available for the GX9. It fits the GX80 perfectly and it feels really good. The next big difference and the reason why I bought the GX80 is the in-body image stabilization. G7 is an unstabilized sensor and the GX80 has a in-body image stabilization. When filming with unstabilized lenses, the image stabilization in the GX80 is quite noticeable and makes a huge difference. And also when taking photographs in dim light conditions, you can lower the shutter speed more on a GX80 than on a G7 without image stabilization. A big plus for the G7, especially for YouTubers and vloggers, is the microphone input. So you don't have to use an external device to record your sound. What is also quite handy on the G7 is the remote input. So you can use a physical remote, which is much more convenient to use than the smartphone app. You also need the remote input for connecting the camera to a gimbal, like the Cyanochrane Plus that I own. One thing that the G7 is missing that I only noticed when I bought a field monitor is that the G7 has no HDMI video output while recording. So when you press the record button, the screen goes black on the field monitor. And when recording with a field monitor on a GX80, the GX80 still puts out a video over HDMI while you record. Another great feature of the GX80 that the G7 does not have is the charging via USB. I use it all the time. I barely ever change the battery in the camera So you can charge it with a power bank if you are on tour. I often charge it in my car, and you can also charge it when you just transferred your images to your computer and turn the camera off. It instantly starts to charge the camera. So that's a very nice feature to have. One big plus for the G7 is the fully articulating screen, especially for vloggers. They can check their framing when filming themselves. The GX80 only has a tiltable screen, but it's better than having no screen or no tiltable screen at all. The viewfinders on the cameras are okay. I find the GX80 viewfinder a bit too small. The G7 viewfinder is really good in size and also in quality. One new addition in the GX80 was the mechanical shutter. It has an electromagnetic shutter, which is a bit quieter than the mechanical shutter on the G7. As for the video features, the GX80 is missing the Cine D profile that the G7 has, but when filming in 8-bit you don't want to film as flat as possible because you may get banding when color grading the videos. There is a possibility to hack the Cine D profile into the GX80. There are several videos out there on YouTube, you can check them out if you want to do this. So to sum it up, the G7 has the microphone jack, the remote input and a fully articulating screen, and the GX80 has in-body image stabilization, HDMI output while recording and USB charging. If I were to choose only one of the two, I would pick the GX80 because of the image stabilization, the HDMI output and the USB charging. These are features that are very great to have. You can overcome the things the GX80 does not have, like the mic jack with an external recording device or the fully articulating screen with an external monitor. If you want to have the best of both cameras, you can buy a G80, G81, G85, whatever it is called in your region, and it has a fully articulating screen, remote input, mic input, and it has also in-body image stabilization. What the G80 does not have is USB charging. So I hope this video was helpful for you if you want to buy a new camera and have to decide which one to pick. If you like this video, then please click the like button down below. If you have any further questions, then please leave them in the comments. If you want to subscribe, then please click here, and I hope to see you in the next video.